Hello and welcome to another Spanish lesson with me, Eva. Today I will teach you how to tell the time. Okay, so how do we tell the time in Spanish? Let's start with the question. When someone asks you or you want to ask someone what the time is, you will be asking ¿Qué hora es? What time is it? Or what's the time? ¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? Okay, that's the standard question to inquire about the time. You can also say ¿Tienes hora? Okay, ¿Tienes hora? I will write it here as well. ¿Tienes? Okay, ¿Tienes hora could mean what time is it? But in certain contexts, in some situations, it means have you got an appointment? For example, if you show up at some government agency or maybe even at a doctor's and say that you would like to see someone, a doctor or someone else, so that you are there to do something, I don't know, some admin stuff, they might ask you if you've already got an appointment, okay? In which case they will say ¿Tienes hora? Okay, have you got the, have we assigned you the time when you're supposed to come here? Okay, have you got an appointment already? So ¿Tienes hora? Be careful. It can mean two different things, okay? But today we are just using it to ask about the time. Okay, so ¿Qué hora es? Or ¿Tienes hora? What time is it, or what's the time? The Spanish might use the 24-hour system in writing, but when you speak, they will hardly ever say, I'll see you at 16 or 20 o'clock, okay? So when speaking, we are dealing only with 12 numbers, and we've had a lesson on numbers, well, more than one, so you know your numbers. You know how to say una, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, 10, 11 and 12, okay? So when talking about the time, these are the numbers that you will need. Now, be careful when you're answering, and if it's 1 o'clock or 1 o'clock something, you will have to say es la una. Okay? Es la una if it's 1 o'clock. Okay? It's they use the article, it's the one, okay? Or you might say it's the first hour. Es la una. All others, because now we are already dealing with plural, so 2, 3 and all the way until 12, this is already plural. You will be starting your answer with son las, okay? Son las, I don't know, dos, seis, ocho, and all the others, okay? So only if it's 1 o'clock or 1 o'clock something, maybe 1:30, 1:45, only if it's 1 o'clock, you will say es la una, okay? All the others, it will be son las, okay? Now, if it's exactly 1 o'clock or exactly 2 o'clock or 3 or 4 or 5, you might want to say en punto. Es la 1 en punto. Son las 5 en punto. Okay? So exactly 1 o'clock. Exactly 5 o'clock. Okay? So, for example, this would be, I hope I haven't moved it. This is not too precise. Es la 1. Okay? Una en punto. Es la 1 en punto. Let's say it's a little bit later, 4 hours later. You will say, well, it's moved. Wait, I'll hold it from the back. Okay, so 4 hours later, and you are saying, son las 5 en punto. Okay, 5 o'clock sharp. Good, that's en punto. Let's have a look at quarter. Okay, now it's 4:15. The Spanish will do it exactly the opposite way to the way it's done in English. In English, first you tell the minutes, so maybe 10 minutes past 3 or 20 minutes to 8. So you start with the minutes and then you tell the hour. The Spanish will do it the other way around. They will tell you the hour first and then the minutes, okay? So it's not 4:15, it's 4 and quarter, okay? So it would be son las 4 or son las 5 y cuarto. First the hour, son las 5, las 7, las 9, las 10, o es la 1 y cuarto. Okay, so first they tell you the hour and then the minutes. So the other way around, okay? Be careful not to be tempted to do it the English way and give the minutes first and then the hour, okay? So, son las 5 y cuarto, okay? That's when it's 4:15. Okay, this is not a very good one to use. I hope the 1/2 will be easier. Again, it's not 3:30, it's 3:30, okay? So it will be son las 3:30. Son las 3:30, okay? Okay, in this case, son las 5:30, okay? Again, you start with the hour and then you tell the minutes. And then finally, the last one is the 4:45. Okay, let's say 5:45. Okay, so 5:45, it means it's not 6 o'clock yet. Okay, so you don't say las 6. Sorry, yes, you do. 5:45, it means we are so close to the next hour that we will actually start with the one that's coming up in 15 minutes. So 5:45 is 6 minus a quarter, okay? They will say son las 6, even though it's not 6 o'clock yet. Son las 6 menos cuarto. Menos cuarto, okay? When we were here 4:15, we said son las 6:15, but now that we are already approaching the next hour, we name it, we say which hour that is, and we say son las 6 menos cuarto, okay? So it's 6 o'clock, well, not quite, minus quarter, okay? Minus a quarter. So you will always have something preceding these expressions, okay? Son las 3, las 4, las 8, las 9, whatever hour it is, then you start with that. So here you say the hour, okay? Of course, sometimes it's not quarter past, sometimes it's 10 past, in which case you just say son las 8:10, or it's not half past, maybe it's just 20 past, in which case you say son las 5:20, okay? Usually we give them in increments of 5 minutes, 5, 10, 15, which would be a quarter, and then 20, 25, and then half past y media, okay? Sometimes you need to be a bit more specific, and fine, you can say son las 8:23. Okay, there are circumstances when maybe you won't be rounding up these numbers, but most of the time in any language, in any culture, we will be talking in increments of 5. So we will say son las 2:05, son las 3:10, and so on, okay? Now, as long as we are in this first half, and we are including half past, we are mentioning this hour first. So we say son las, for example, here it would be son las 2:25, okay? We will be saying it's 2:25. However, once we get past the half an hour, half past, then we actually mention this hour first and say -5, -10, -20, okay? So let's say we are here, and let's hope this doesn't change. So this will be nearly 5 o'clock, so we will say son las 5:10. It's 5 minus 5. Okay, minus 10, sorry. It's 5 minus 5, okay? So again, from here onwards, we are already getting closer to the next hour, so we will answer by mentioning that hour that's coming up, okay? And then just specify how many more minutes to go before we actually reach that hour, okay? So son las 8:20 would be nearly 8 o'clock, but still 20 minutes missing. So it would be somewhere like this. I guess this would be son las 8 menos 20, okay? Good. Okay, again, to do this, you need to know your numbers really well. So make sure that you know at least the multiples of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 you don't really need to know because you will say y media. And then again, 35, 40, 45 again, you will probably use menos cuarto, and then 50 and 55. And then when it's 7 o'clock straight, you will say son las 7:00. Okay, so you will very rarely use 60 when you are telling the time. Okay, good. Now, even though we are not using the 24-hour system when speaking, sometimes, or because we are not using the 24-hour system when speaking, sometimes it's important to clarify if it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the evening. Now, in English, you simply have AM and PM, and the day, the 24-hour period, is divided in half, and you have the AM until 12, until noon, and then once you hit the noon, including the noon, you start with PM. So you will have 12 PM at noon, and then 1 PM, 2 PM, 3 PM until midnight, and midnight will be 12 AM, and then after that you will start with AM, but from 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., etc., which I find a bit confusing, but I'm not going to change it. So anyway, in English, the day, the 24-hour period is divided in half, and you have AM and PM. In Spanish, they divide it in 3 parts, okay? So you have the morning, which would be de la mañana. Then you have the afternoon, which will be de la tarde. And then at night time, whether it's before midnight or after midnight, it doesn't matter, would be de la noche. Okay, so de la mañana is from really early in the morning, usually when you get up, until when does la tarde begin? Well, that's a tricky one. Some people will say that the la tarde starts at 12 o'clock, at noon. So after 12 o'clock, you have to say, I don't know, son las 2 de la tarde. Okay? Or when you see someone, actually no, when you say the time, you do say de la tarde. But when you are greeting someone in the street or wherever else you are, there are people who will not say buenas tardes just yet, okay? Even though officially it is la tarde, it is past 12 o'clock, noon. When greeting people, they will say still buenos días, okay? Why? They claim that they only start saying buenas tardes once they've had lunch, okay? And lunch in Spain is usually around 2 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, the latest. People will be sitting down for lunch. So there are Spanish people who wait until they've had lunch before they start saying buenas tardes, before they start saying good afternoon. But officially, and especially as far as the telling the time is concerned, de la tarde does start after noon, after 12 o'clock. Okay, whether you've had lunch or not, la 1 de la tarde is 1 p.m. Okay, it doesn't matter if you've eaten already or not. Okay, so de la mañana, from the moment you get up until noon. Afternoon, you start saying de la tarde. And then when it gets late and all throughout the night until, again, early hours in the morning, you will be saying de la noche. So las 11 de la noche is 11 p.m. Las 3 de la noche is 3 a.m. Okay, so this a.m. p.m. system does not work in Spain. In Spain, the day is divided in 3 periods and not in 2. And again, it doesn't mean that the mañana is 8 hours, the afternoon 8, and the night 8. It's more to do with, you know, with what you're doing. Are you getting ready to go to bed? Or, I don't know, how early does it get dark outside, which is not the same in summer and in winter. So again, there's no rule to say from this time onwards it's mañana. Tarde does start at 12, but the other two, it's a little bit ambiguous, no? When exactly you stop using noche and you say mañana, or when you stop saying tarde and you start saying de la noche. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the way to tell the time in Spanish. Remember, if it's 1 o'clock something or 1 o'clock sharp, you will say es la una. You might say es la una en punto, es la una y cuarto, la una y 10, or la una menos 2. Well, you wouldn't say 2 minutes to 1 o'clock usually. La una menos 20, etc. Okay? All the others, which are already plural, we already deal with more than one, so it's plural, you will have to answer with son las. Okay? It is true that sometimes son and es are just left out, okay? This, in a way, makes it a little bit easier, but you still need to be careful with the article. La una, and las dos, las cinco, las nueve, etc. Okay, so even if you leave out es and son, you still need to be careful with using la for una and las for all the others. Okay, good. Okay, that's as far as telling what time it is. However, sometimes you will have to make plans, arrangements, get appointments, and then you will have to know what time this appointment is taking place, or what time you are meeting someone, or what time the bus leaves, or what time, I don't know, something else, okay? Someone is coming around to your house, okay? Or you are inviting them and you have to tell them when to come. Here, the question is slightly different, and it's a qué hora, okay? A qué hora. For example, you can say, venga, nos vemos mañana. See you tomorrow. And someone wants to know exactly what time you are meeting. They might say, ¿a qué hora? Or ¿a qué hora nos vemos? And then you have to answer. You see, they've used a. At what time? No? At. And then you say at 5 o'clock, a las 5, for example. Okay? So if someone asks you, ¿a qué hora? At what time? Okay? And then the answer has to be at 5, 6, 7, or 7:45, or whatever the time. Okay? So it's slightly different, but you will see if they ask ¿a qué hora? They're asking at what time something will happen, and then you answer with a as well, okay? If they're just asking ¿qué hora es?, they just want to know the time, okay? And the same for you. If you want to know what time it is in that particular moment, you will simply say ¿qué hora es? Or ¿tienes hora? Which means I haven't got a watch or a phone on me. Can you tell me what time it is? Have you got something to tell us what time it is? Okay, so simply knowing what time it is now, ¿qué hora es? O ¿tienes hora? If you want to know what time or at what time something will happen in the future, then it's ¿a qué hora? Okay, and the answer will also include a las 5 or a las 5:15, whatever the time is. Okay, good. So how do you practice this throughout the day? Because you know that I can explain things here, and I hope I'm doing a good job explaining them. I hope you can follow my lessons. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. However, you will not learn Spanish if you don't practice it, okay? If you don't go out, or even just to start, you can do it at home, okay? In the privacy of your own home, where you feel, you know, comfortable and safe and there's no one there to hear you, you need to start practicing, okay? Eventually you'll have to go out and speak to people, okay? You can't avoid it. And I hope that's the reason why you want to learn another language, why you are learning Spanish. To start with, it's okay to practice at home, but you do need to start practicing. So throughout the day, every time you look at your watch or the time on your phone, or maybe you have a clock somewhere around you, or your computer or laptop, when you look at the time, just try and say the time in Spanish, okay? I don't know if you have a thing like this. This is from my son. You might even want to spend 5 minutes and, you know, move these around, move the hands around and just keep telling different times in Spanish. But yeah, the more you practice, the more confident you will become that you know how to do it, the less you will have to think about it. It will become second nature to you to immediately, you know, if a Spanish person asks you what time it is, you will just blurt it out without having to, you know, remember, oh yeah, the Spanish start with the hour and then they mention the minute, and how do you say a quarter, and what do you do with half past, and all this will just become second nature to you the more you practice. So I encourage you to spend time practicing this at the same time you're practicing numbers. And yeah, just remember about the morning, afternoon and night, okay? And we will have a look at the greetings very soon, where we will be dealing with these in one way or another again. Okay, so if you want to keep watching these lessons and learning Spanish with me, I suggest you subscribe to the channel. You can hit that bell button, and that way hopefully you will be notified whenever a new lesson comes out. And for any questions, comments, criticism, please just use the email address that I have left in the description box below. Okay, great. Take care, practice, and I'll see you soon.